Live from the Jacob Javits Center in New York City, the program of the fourth and final day of the historic Second Baha'i World Congress.
О Господи благой, Ты произвел все человечество от одного корня, определил всем принадлежать к единой семье. В присутствии Твоем святом все слуги Твои есть. Все человечество приютил Ты под одним шатром у стола даров Твоих. Всех озарил светом Своей любви и погрузил в океан милосердия Твоего. О Господи благой, объедини всех, и да достигнут согласия все религии, и объединятся все народы в один народ, дабы считать им друг друга членами одной семьи, и целую землю единым домом всех. О Господи, возвысь стяг единства народов, соедини все сердца воедино. Ты милостив и всемогущий. Ты прощаешь грехи и снисходителен к несовершенствам человека. Воистину, Ты наш единосущный властитель, помощник наш и наш Господь.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bahai Satellite Network and the live telecast of the fourth day proceedings of the Bahai World Congress in the Jacob Javits Center in New York City. Around the world, at this very moment, Bahai audiences on every continent are sharing this historic occasion with us. Additionally, as a result of the enormous interest by television networks around the world, millions of viewers are also watching this program. Through a constellation of communication satellites placed some 22,000 miles in space, we are joined together in celebration of Bahaullah's call for the unity of mankind and to emblazon his name across the planet. As a demonstration of the unifying power of the revelation of Bahaullah, let us briefly exchange greetings with some of our brothers and sisters gathered at conferences around the world. Apia, Western Samoa, are you there?
We are here. Greetings from His Highness Malitor Sanwafili II, Head of State of the Government of Western Samoa, to the Bahai World. Bahai World Congress, New York, November 1992. From the depths of my heart, I wish to convey my warmest greetings to the Universal House of Justice and the Bahai world. As head of state of this country, I warmly express that in marking the centenary of the inauguration of the covenant, this is an immense significance to the worldwide Bahai community. And in view of the current state of human affairs, I pray that more and more leaders will listen to the call of Bahaullah in order that world peace be established, which has been the purpose of all religions of the past. This holy year is an inspiring reminder of the sacredness of the manifestation of God. We have been endowed with the capacity to recognize the sacred in its universality, in its individual expressions in the world of being and nature, and in the hearts of men. My greetings to all the Baha'is of the world who, in the commemoration of this special occasion, signify the power of the covenant of Bahaullah, and for the world to know and recognize God's greatness and uniqueness as our Creator and to apprehend His holy word. Soifua Malietoa Tanumafili II, His Highness the Head of State of the Independent State of Western Samoa.
Greetings from the conference of the satellite telecast in Apia, Western Samoa. Our warmest Bahai greetings from the islands of Samoa, from the people and all the Baha'is who have gathered in Apia at this very moment to be part of a historic occasion symbolizing the unity of the world at large. As Baha'u'llah's name is emblazoned across the whole planet through electromagnetic waves, heralding his redeeming message of unity to mankind. Present here today are believers not only from Western and American Samoa, but also friends from as far as Italy, Papua New Guinea, Tuvalu, Hawaii, New Zealand, Cook Islands, as well as the Samoan heroes who have returned from the Ocean of Light teaching campaign in Tuvalu. This telecast conference is being held at the Bahai premises at Lelata, a few miles away from where the Mother Temple of the Pacific is located. Those gathered send their loving greetings, and this quotation from the promised of all ages, Bahaullah. The lamp of the covenant is the light of the world, and the words traced by the pen of the Most High a limitless ocean. Allah Pa.
Thank you very much, Samoa. And now we go to South America. Buenos Aires, Argentina, welcome to our Cycle of Unity. Come in, Argentina.
Hola, from the hundreds of friends gathered at the San Martin Cultural Center. We are now joining the thousands upon thousands of Baha'is gathered all around the world as the name Baha'u'llah unites and encircles the globe with the speed of light. Present in our meeting are Baha'is from Chile, Bolivia, Paraguay, Peru, Uruguay, and Argentina. Our program began yesterday, and as you can imagine, everyone is delighted to be together with all of you today. Buenos Aires is the city where Mae Maxwell, at 70 years of age, laid down her life while on a teaching trip. That same year, 1940, also marked the formation of the first local spiritual assembly. Today, it is with joy in our hearts that we unite with the rest of the world in the onrushing fulfillment of Baha'u'llah's vision for mankind.
Thank you. And now let us go half around the world and receive greetings from the European continent. Bucharest, Romania, are you there? Go ahead, Romania.
At the National Theatre in Bucharest, Romania. You cannot possibly imagine the thrill of this magical moment for the Baha'is of Eastern Europe. To be deprived of outside contact for 40 years and then suddenly to see the glory of Baha'u'llah bring a new dawn to all our lands. To see hundreds of our countrymen respond to his clarion call. To rejoice in the distinction of having the first monarch, Queen Marie, champion the cause. To be chosen as one of the sides for this momentous occasion can only be living proof of the power and glory of the covenant of Baha'u'llah. In the years to come, we pledge to focus our vision, concentrate our forces, surmount every obstacle, and reach every heart throughout our lands. These endeavors we place at the feet of Baha'u'llah, hoping that they will bring one drop of joy to the heart of the blessed beauty, Allah Pa.
Thank you, Bucharest. Thank you. And now to the Earth's largest continent. Dear friends gathered in India, please share with us your greetings.
Aloha. Dearly beloved friends, it gives us boundless happiness to greet the distinguished assemblage at the World Congress in the City of the Covenant to commemorate the centenary of the inauguration of Bahaullah's almighty and peerless covenant through his appointment of Abdul Baha. We, at the National Hazratul Quds in New Delhi, assembled at the Indian National Congress, numbering nearly 2,000 believers, representing hundreds of ethnic groups, speaking 16 official languages, acknowledge the majesty and sovereignty of our well-beloved Lord. We send our very warm greetings and Baha'i love to all who are gathered in the Javits Convention Center in New York. Allahu Akbar.
Thank you. Thank you, India. Let us continue. Moscow, Russia, are you with us? Come in, Moscow.
Greetings from Moscow, Russia, from some 800 Baha'is, representing more than 30 nationalities. Only the covenant of the King of Light and Glory could have made such a gathering possible in a land which a few short years ago prided itself in living without God. The covenant gave strength to the pioneers in times when their faith couldn't be mentioned openly, and fueled the work of the travel teachers who have emblazoned the name of Bahaullah across the continent. It's the covenant that is the bedrock of the 60 local spiritual assemblies established here in the space of 3 years. We draw inspiration from contemplating the Guardian's promise that for its offer of sanctuary to Bahaullah, Russia will be blessed, and affirm our conviction that the power of the covenant will assist us in making Russia a mighty pillar of the faith. Ya Bahaullah.
Dear friends, let us continue our historic journey of light and go to Nairobi in Kenya. Nairobi, are you there? Go ahead, Nairobi.
Jambo from Kenya. This is Africa, the continent of light, calling our beloved sisters and brothers from around the world and in the city of the covenant. Allahu Akbar. 600 Baha'i friends speaking approximately 30 languages are gathered here in Nairobi, Kenya, celebrating this holy occasion. Though limited means prevent us from attending your joyous gathering, yet are we transported by the rays of his resplendent face to be at one with you and to convey to you expressions of our deepest love and greetings. May the glorious blessings of this time of holiness aid and assist us all, that each one of us may become a lighted candle, each one a center of attraction, each one an emblazoner of his holy name, till at last we make this nether world the mirror image of his paradise. Ya Bahaullah Bha.
Thank you, Kenya. And now, friends, let's go to the Mother Temple of Latin America. Panama, welcome to this Feast of Unity.
Allahu Akbar, beloved friends. Loving Baha'i greetings to all participants in the World Congress in New York. From the friends gathered in this satellite conference in Panama, we are in the meeting hall at the site of the Mother Temple of Latin America in Panama City. 100 Baha'is from Central and South America have joined the Panama Baha'i community in this satellite conference. We are overjoyed and thankful to Bahaullah at the opportunity to participate in the World Congress via satellite conference to demonstrate our commitment to the covenant and to demonstrate to the world the organic unity of the Baha'is in the world community. Allahu Akbar.
Thank you very much, Panama. Let us now go across the Pacific and go to Singapore. Singapore, are you there? Come in, Singapore.
Joyous greetings from Singapore, where over 800 Baha'is from Malaysia, Indonesia, Thailand, Laos, Hong Kong, Macau, Philippines, Australia, Singapore, and the Holy Land are gathered to witness the unique and soul-stirring Second Baha'i World Congress. Among us are 50 Ibans, a native tribe from Sarawak, and busloads of Baha'is from plantations throughout Malaysia who have come to see for themselves the power of the cause in uniting mankind. Words fail to express our gratitude to our beloved Supreme Body for giving us the opportunity to join the thousands of his followers in New York and the world over in celebrating this momentous event in history. We wish our Baha'i brothers and sisters every success in proclaiming his name during this holy year and the years to come. Allahu Akbar.
We shall now welcome the final live location link up. Hello, Australia.
To our Baha'i brothers and sisters throughout the world, from the Darling Harbour Convention Centre in the city of Sydney, Australia, site of the Mother Temple of the Antipodes. 2,500 Baha'is are gathered from many nations of the Pacific region. That vast area of the globe, as Shoghi Effendi described it, endowed with unimaginable potentialities. At this historic moment, we remember the valiant services of the Hands of the Cause, Collis Featherston, and Mother and Father Dunn, who in 1921 opened this continent to the faith of Bahaullah. With our hearts and minds focused on the sacred person of Bahaullah, we shall, inspired by our Continental Board of Councillors and National Spiritual Assemblies for Australasia, be galvanizing our efforts to win great victories for the cause of God in the Ocean of Light teaching campaign. Allah Akbar, friends.
Thank you, Sydney. Dear friends, as we bathe in the unity, the fellowship, and joy of this wondrous occasion, we should offer our thanksgiving, praise, and gratitude to the Almighty that the winds of change in many lands have allowed our Baha'i brothers and sisters to openly rejoice and express their faith in Bahaullah. Meanwhile, hundreds and thousands are still forbidden this basic freedom. In acknowledgement of their heroic steadfastness in the covenant, selfless devotion, and their continuous sacrifice, it is my privilege to read the following message from the Baha'is of Iran. The light of the covenant hath illumined all strata of society, inasmuch as it is shared from the concourse on high, and hath thus encompassed this nether world. The contingent world is astir by virtue of the breezes wafting from the garden of the covenant. The east and the west are inebriated by the wine of this divine mystery, and the nightingales of the rose garden of holiness are enchanted and have burst in songs at the sight of this flower of God's holy testament. With deepest joy and fervor, in these historic days, the friends in Iran greet this army of faithful lovers who, in utmost serenity and purity, have gathered in this magnificent historic Congress. Most certainly, the hearts and souls of the countrymen of the beloved Blessed Beauty, those of us residing in Iran, are united with you in the world of spirit and are linked to you through prayer and meditation. Even though we may appear to be far from you, the resplendent rays shining from the day star of loving kindness are manifest and evident. God willing, the darksome clouds of misunderstandings in Iran will gradually pass away. Our relationship with our fellow countrymen is improving. The presence of a number of friends from the cradle of the faith in that great Congress is a sign of this process. Our heartfelt hope is that in the future we will witness an increase of freedom in all areas. We are assured that this freedom and attainment will bring joy and pleasure to the hearts of the servants of our all-forgiving Lord. We rely on the divine bounties and are certain that the effect of the ardent prayers offered by those spiritual souls in that divine gathering will impart a new spirit to the world of humanity in this holy year. We beseech the one true God that the light of unity and oneness may shine upon this world, that disunity and war amongst the nations may be permanently eliminated, and that the present calamities of humankind in every corner of the world may be transformed into ease and comfort of all hearts and souls. To attain such a divine and worthy objective, we all raise our hands in supplication to the Almighty and humble ourselves and say, assist thou, O thou forgiving God, this gathering and grant thy bestowals, that it may illumine the world with the light of unity, and that the East and the West may be enlightened with the rays of love and harmony. O thou generous and kind Lord, resuscitate the souls through the breaths of the Holy Spirit, and brighten the faces even as radiant candles, that they may envelop the world with celestial splendors and bestow on the hearts heavenly attributes. Thou art the giver, the bestower, and the compassionate. Friends, let us respond to the Baha'is in Iran and the Baha'is gathered around the world by singing Allah Abha.
human beings have the privilege and joy of having walking among them a manifestation of God, of being able to have converse with one who is the perfect reflection of the eternal essence of God. Our immediate forebears had that privilege, and we are met to recall that agonizing moment 100 years ago, when the earthly life of Bahaullah came to an end, and the King of Kings was no longer with us on this earth. We recall his sufferings and his triumphs. We register our awareness of the task to which he has called us. And we pay tribute both to the memory of his life and the power of his spirit which continues to sustain us.
In such dramatic circumstances was made to sustain the overpowering weight of so glorious a mission was none other than the one whom posterity will acclaim and whom innumerable followers already recognize as the judge, the lawgiver and redeemer of all mankind, as the organizer of the entire planet, as the unifier of the children of men, as the inaugurator of the long-awaited millennium, as the originator of a new universal cycle, as the establisher of the most great peace, as the fountain of the most great justice, as the proclaimer of the coming of age of the entire human race, as the creator of a new world order, and as the inspirer and founder of a world civilization.
In this day, Bahaullah, talking to the world about justice. Oh, what a wonder this justice surely is the day of God.
In this day, Bahaullah, talking to the world about oneness. Oh, what a wonder this oneness. Surely it's the day of God. In this day, Bahai, about justice, talking about justice. What a wonder, justice, surely it's the day of God. Surely it's the day.
This
As the 20th century draws to a close, two historical processes are sharply converging. The first is a series of revolutionary changes which are awakening the peoples of the world to their common humanity and to the earth as a single homeland. The second is the rapid unfolding of the new pattern of human society created by Baha'u'llah's covenant, which has taken root in every corner of the globe and among all the earth's peoples. These two processes come together at a moment when a dramatic change of perception has imposed itself on the public mind. An array of unresolved problems have combined to create a crisis of planetary dimensions. Suddenly, there is no aspect of human civilization that does not find itself imperiled. Ambitious political theories, which once claimed to understand the crisis, have been literally swept away. The machinery of the nation-state has been everywhere overwhelmed by problems that are global in scope. Suddenly, the principle of collective action, once a pious hope, has become the lifeline of the world.
Our garden, and together we must cultivate it. This week at Rio, we have made a start. Beyond Rio, we must continue to carry it through. Mr. Chairman, for our generation and for future generations, there can be no other way.
It is no exaggeration to say that the greatest achievements of the 20th century are those related to collective action. These include an unprecedented decision by the community of nations to act together in suppressing aggression, international agreements to establish global environmental standards, the enlistment of the world's heads of state in protecting the rights of children, worldwide relief efforts to aid the hungry and homeless, and collective action based on the conviction that the world's seas, the Antarctic, endangered species, and the Earth's atmosphere all represent the common heritage of mankind. But even these arduous and well-meaning efforts are falling far short of the challenge.
And the lynching of black men.
Only a unifying power can harness the available technological resources of mankind. Only a truly global authority can apply them with the necessary courage and determination. Ultimately, the world's commitment to collective action will have to address the challenge enunciated almost 60 years ago by the guardian of the Baha'i faith. Every system, short of the unification of the human race, has been tried, repeatedly tried, and found wanting. As the world's leaders and populations struggle with this inescapable reality, the implications of the unfolding mission of Baha'u'llah will become steadily more apparent to everyone. At the heart of Baha'u'llah's mission lies a new covenant between God and humankind. As the peoples of the world accept the sovereignty of God, a new race of men will take up its destiny on this earth. The struggling nucleus of this new human family has already emerged, what Baha'u'llah called the people of Baha. More than just a community or an organization, the Baha'is represent the arrowhead of the evolution of human consciousness. As such, we have a profound responsibility not only to act, but to understand. O people of Baha, be not careless of the virtues with which ye have been endowed. What are these virtues with which our emerging community is endowed? The most important is unity. Unity is the next stage in the evolution of our planet, the goal of centuries of human evolution. Bahaullah promises, so powerful is the light of unity that it can illuminate the whole earth. The Baha'i community is not only united, it embraces the entire variety of the human family. Without distinction, it is truly universal. And it has been imbued with a new set of moral values, a new ethos for living in an age of global integration. Bahaullah asks, is it within human power to effect so complete a transformation? The challenges of today call for an unprecedented act of will. The community created by Bahaullah has demonstrated the capacity not only to set itself enormously ambitious goals, but to persist in achieving those goals. Only a century after the inauguration of the Covenant, it has become the most widespread organized body of people on earth. And if the century and a half of sacrifices by the Iranian Baha'is demonstrates anything, it is evidence that the people of Baha possess the necessary reserves of endurance that today's challenges will require. All praise be to God, who hath adorned the world with an ornament and arrayed with a vesture which can be despoiled by no earthly power. To a world torn by conflict and increasingly desperate for solutions, the Baha'i community offers convincing evidence that humanity in all its diversity can live and work as one people in a common global homeland. But the endowments of Baha'ullah's covenant come most sharply into focus in the operation of the administrative order. There is no achievement in human history that can compare with the system of group consultation and decision-making that the covenant has brought into existence throughout the world. The network of local spiritual assemblies guiding and nurturing communities at the grassroots level, and the national spiritual assemblies coordinating and assisting these activities in 165 countries around the globe. And now we understand why Abdul Baha, so many years ago, said that 1963 would witness the foundation of world peace. Because in that year, on the slope of Mount Carmel, an institution came into existence that has no parallel in the history of our planet. It has been envisioned in the marvelous words of Isaiah. And it shall come to pass in the last days that the mountain of the Lord's house shall be established in the top of the mountains, and all nations shall flow unto it. For out of Zion shall go forth the law. And in the prayer of Jesus Christ, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. What the establishment of the Universal House of Justice means is that Bahaullah has endowed a global community, a microcosm of humanity itself, with the capacity to think and act as one soul in one body. There is no greater testimony to the power of the covenant which he inaugurated exactly 100 years ago. Blessed art thou, O earth, for thou hast been made the footstool of thy God, and been chosen as the seat of his mighty throne.
Friends, I would like to introduce to you Mrs. Zina Sorabji, who is a member of the Baha'i community of India. Mrs. Sorabji.
Friends, during the past 3 days, we have been taken on a historic journey through time, both through audiovisual means and through captivating talks, commencing with the early 19th century and its messianic expectations, witnessing the birth, the life, and teaching of Bahaullah, the founder prophet of the Baha'i faith, whom Baha'is consider to be the most precious being to have drawn breath upon this planet. At his passing in 1892, Bahaullah left for posterity a gift in the form of a covenant with his followers, the center of that covenant being Abdul Baha, his eldest son. It was to him all Baha'is were to turn in matters relating to the interpretation of Baha'u'llah's writings. We have heard in detail about the mission of Abdul Baha and the manner in which he fulfilled his dual role as exemplar for all the Baha'is and as the builder of Baha'u'llah's world order. We then benefited from an eloquent description of the guardian of the Baha'i faith, Shoghi Effendi, who through his patience and determination helped the development and progress of the Baha'i faith and its administration by inspiring the Baha'is all over the world. Today, the last day of the Congress, we shall speak about humanity's encounter with Baha'u'llah. Before introducing the subject, let me remind you once again that in about 20 minutes, we shall go live to the World Center for a history-making event. It is interesting to look at an analogy which has been very beautifully described by a renowned Baha'i scholar. He asks us to examine the principle of the conception of a new life and the growth of the embryo. We may study the condition of an egg before and after it is fertilized. Before the conception of the new life, the egg is in its normal state and contains good food. But when the new life begins to grow within it, the condition inside changes radically. The food turns bad and becomes corrupted. Yet the new life lives within this corrupted matter and feeds on it. At first, the change is not obvious, but as the new life grows, the condition inside becomes more unstable and imbalanced. And there comes a time when the egg cannot remain whole anymore. Eventually, it breaks open. The young creature is born, and the egg is reduced to a broken shell. The same principle applies to the Baha'i faith. When Baha'u'llah declared his mission in April 1863 of being that messenger of God foretold in the holy scriptures of the past, at that moment you could say he fertilized the egg of human society with the seed of the Baha'i community. From that moment on, the egg, that is the world, began to change. Baha'u'llah himself says, life was taken away from the whole of creation in a moment, and at that same moment, a new life was infused into all created things. And now we see that as the Baha'i community grows, conditions in the world deteriorate. There is an imbalance in the conditions existing in the world. The world's equilibrium had been upset through the vibrating influence of this most great, this new world order, said Baha'u'llah. And the old world order is being rolled up and a new one spread out in its stead. The thinking world has caught up by now with the basic teachings which Baha'u'llah enunciated over a century ago. Unconscious of their source, humankind has been incorporating these fundamentals in their programs and projects for the reshaping of society, politically, socially, and economically. A new life is, in this age, stirring within all the peoples of the earth, and yet none hath discovered its cause or perceived its motive, Baha'u'llah stated over 100 years ago. Some of the issues of which he warned the rulers and leaders are the dangers of racialism, nationalism, and communism. The practice of racialism perpetrates too outrageous a violation of the dignity of human beings. What we term race is the outcome of the operation of a long historical process. It is not a divine arrangement. Today, as a result of transcultural and transracial milieu of world society, it is only natural to regard humanity as only one race. Baha'u'llah therefore urged, "The tabernacle of unity hath been raised, regard ye not one another as strangers." Unbridled nationalism, as opposed to genuine patriotism, must give way to a wider loyalty. Love of all the world's peoples does not exclude the love of one's country. Current international cooperation in various fields brings to mind Baha'u'llah's statement, "Let not a man glory in this, that he loves his country. Let him rather glory in this, that he loves his kind." The many decades of theory and practice of communism amply demonstrate that fear, suspicion, and hatred are at the basis of this ideology. Recent events clearly demonstrate that it is on the verge of total collapse. For legal standards, political and economic theories, said Shoghi Effendi, the guardian of the Baha'i faith, are solely designed to safeguard the interests of humanity as a whole, and not humanity to be crucified for the preservation of the integrity of any particular law or doctrine. Global revolution has become the dominant fact of our life. Humanity is rapidly moving towards the establishment of a new world order. The attempt in Europe to achieve an intercontinental federation of nations and the recent Gulf War are all very important indicators to the realization of the goals of collective security and general well-being of humanity propounded by Baha'u'llah. Addressing the rulers of the earth, he wrote thus in his epistle to Queen Victoria, "Take ye counsel together, and let your concern be only for that which profiteth mankind, and bettereth the condition thereof. Be reconciled among yourselves, that ye may need armaments no more, save in a measure to safeguard your territories and dominions. Be united, O concourse of the sovereigns of the world, for thereby will the tempest of discord be stilled amongst you, and your peoples find rest. Should anyone among you take up arms against one another, rise ye all against him, for this is naught but manifest justice." Yet another vital social teaching of Baha'u'llah that has had a powerful impact on present-day society is the equal opportunities for both sexes, equality for women and safeguarding of their rights, privileges, and prerogatives being directly linked to world peace. "My object," Baha'u'llah has written, "is none other than the betterment of the world and the tranquility of its peoples. The well-being of mankind, its peace and security are unattainable unless and until its unity is firmly established. Today, we stand in the early stages of the greatest era of all, the age of humanity's planetization, permanent peace, and collective maturity." I would here like to share with you the examples of transformation in some of the Baha'i communities as they allow their love for Baha'u'llah and obedience to his teachings to change their thinking and conduct. Centuries-old traditions and customs steeped in prejudice and injustice are slowly giving way to a more just and fair society. As you are aware, despite government legislation against the practice of discrimination on the grounds of caste in India, there is still a very strong prevalence of the system of untouchability. For the past several years, the Baha'is have been working in remote villages in the northern part of the country, where the literacy rate may be about 48%, out of which 16% would be women. The caste prejudice is so strong that if the members of a particular village belonging to a higher caste were to pass through the streets of an adjacent village consisting of a lower caste, the lower caste villagers should pick up their benches, stop chatting, go inside their huts so that the higher caste could freely pass through without risk of touching the others. For the few years we were in touch with these Baha'is of the lower and higher caste villages, it took many back-breaking journeys to attempt to raise the sights of these villagers to Baha'u'llah's all-important principle of justice. Sometimes one despaired that a whole generation would have to pass on before the glimmerings of change in this centuries-old thinking and practice would be seen. But correspondence helped in activating one of the key believers residing in the area. He was devoted to Baha'u'llah. During this holy year, the 100th anniversary of the passing away of Baha'u'llah, another visit was made to this village. As usual, we went to the higher caste village and sat on their rope beds in the porch of their huts, along with a group of the village Baha'is. Suddenly, we saw the key believer leading a group of poorly dressed lower caste village Baha'is from the adjacent village. He introduced them as untouchables and then requested his own village people and us to make place for them on the same beds. Our eyes couldn't believe what was happening. What we had prayed for years had finally come about in this very special holy year. We were informed that the local spiritual assembly, which is the local Baha'i administrative body for the two villages, since they have one local government administration, now consisted of 8 members from the lower caste and 1 from the higher. On questioning them as to whether the Baha'i faith had in any way brought change in their lives, the answer was what we had just seen. They would never have dreamt of sitting alongside each other or, what was more important, drinking tea from the same teacups. Nor did they any longer need to hide themselves in their huts. This took place in one of the most orthodox areas of the country. A number of such instances are now being heard of in other Baha'i communities. Ever since the Universal House of Justice stressed the need to lay greater emphasis on one of the cardinal principles of Baha'u'llah, which is universal education, the Baha'is all over the world have begun to render service by starting adult literacy and other educational programs. These would assist people to independently investigate religious truth, which is another of the tenets of the Baha'i faith, instead of conforming to certain religious beliefs just because one was born in them. One such program is being held in India. I talk about India because of personal experience, but I'm sure that other Baha'i communities in the world would have similar experiences to relate. In this program, illiterate village women, both Baha'i and others, are invited to an integrated course where literacy and vocational studies are taught. The Baha'i literacy program, which goes beyond functional literacy, has been so evolved that from the first day, words are taught which are useful to the participants and which bring about a discussion on social issues. For example, the word woman, Mahila in Hindi, would be directed by the trainer to lead to a very interesting session on the status of women in their society, Baha'i teachings on equal opportunity for men and women, the principle of justice, the evils of the dowry system, child marriage, female infanticide, and so on. At the end of the 3-month course, it is a delight to see women reading from prayer books, able to write letters to their relations and to Baha'i institutions, something they never imagined possible. They return to their village as change agents of their own society. They educate their menfolk on the evils of alcoholism, resulting in a decline of that addiction. The transformation is palpable inasmuch as wife beating and crime goes on the decline, and government authorities praise the Baha'i courses for taking up literacy programs with a deeper aim. There is no doubt in the minds of the Baha'is throughout the world that the guiding force behind all these endeavors to uplift humanity is that unique institution which the Baha'is know as the Universal House of Justice. What is the Universal House of Justice? This is a question which arises in the minds of people in authority, intellectuals, and in fact masses of people who now more than ever are coming in contact with the Baha'i institutions, individuals, and communities who turn to the Universal House of Justice for guidance and inspiration. They see the Baha'is treading new paths, trying to conform to high standards of integrity and upright conduct. As we witness the crumbling of what the world imagined to be unshakable ideologies and well-entrenched systems, the disintegration of law and order, the increasing suffering of human beings, both in the so-called underdeveloped and developed countries, brings to mind Baha'u'llah's ominous warning about our present-day conditions. We can well perceive, he said, how the whole human race is encompassed with incalculable afflictions. We see it languishing on its bed of sickness, sore-tried and disillusioned. People can neither discover the cause of the disease, nor have they any knowledge of the remedy. They have conceived the straight to be crooked and have imagined their friend an enemy. Foreseeing these conditions, Baha'u'llah offered the remedy in the form of an administrative order. Central to this administrative order is the Universal House of Justice, which, in the words of Shoghi Effendi, would be regarded by posterity as the last refuge of a tottering civilization. Amongst the powers and prerogatives of the Universal House of Justice is the exclusive right to legislate on matters not explicitly revealed in Baha'u'llah's holy book. Shoghi Effendi says, they are to follow in a prayerful attitude the dictates and promptings of their conscience. God will verily inspire them with whatsoever he willeth, is Baha'u'llah's incontrovertible assurance. For the Baha'is residing in over 212 countries, islands, and dependencies of the world, the Universal House of Justice is the central institution to which we must turn, and on it rests the unity and progress of the cause of God in accordance with the revealed word. It is not only the highest legislative body of the faith, but is also the body to which all must turn and is the apex of the Baha'i administrative order. The Universal House of Justice is a unique global organ conceived in the mind of God's messenger for this age, Baha'u'llah, for the fashioning of that world order, the harbinger of a planetary civilization foretold and sung throughout the ages by prophets, seers, and poets. Through this supreme institution, Bahaullah unfolds to humanity a divinely ordained administrative machinery based upon God's justice. Bahaullah has not only infused his system of world order with a new spirit, but has founded a unique institution through which our consciousness can grow and develop. It shows to the peoples the way not only to the kingdom in heaven, but also to the kingdom on earth. According to its constitution, the Universal House of Justice is elected by secret ballot by the 9 members of each of the existing 165 national spiritual assemblies in the world. This election takes place once in 5 years at a meeting known as the International Baha'i Convention. It is to this dearly loved institution, which the Baha'is take comfort in, which they are assured will safeguard the unity of their faith, this refuge for humanity, that our attention is now being drawn by the satellite turning towards the Holy Land, the seat of the Universal House of Justice, and to whom we offer from this most memorable World Congress salutations of praise and gratitude.
A full century has gone by since the covenant of Baha'u'llah was established and set in motion. And we extend to the members of his community our loving greetings as they are assembled today at the World Congress in New York and at auxiliary conferences on all continents, or as they otherwise participate in the observance of this centennial occasion. We are particularly pleased that we have been afforded a special opportunity to pause for a moment together with our fellow believers, to gather our thoughts, to see how we have fared since 1892, and to consider where we are now headed. This enables us to engage in a symbolic act which by its very nature exemplifies the purpose of the covenant, a covenant intended by its divine author to unite the races and nations of the earth. Sublime emotions surge in our hearts as we survey the dramatic history and amazing progress of these 100 years. At the time of the passing of Baha'u'llah, the Baha'i community was contained within the borders of no more than 15 countries, the vast majority of its members living in his native Iran. The community now embraces the entire planet. We rejoice at the spirit of unity which is evident in its steady consolidation through the workings of the administrative order to which the covenant has given birth. Our accumulated experience has clearly demonstrated the efficacy of the covenant. The genuine unity it induces greatly encourages our expectation that all of humanity can and will be united. We have toiled to build a community at a period when the world has witnessed startling changes which have profoundly altered the character of society and plunged it into an unprecedented state of worry and confusion. Indeed, the world in its current condition has lost its bearings through the operation of forces it neither understands nor can control. It is a period in which great dynasties and empires have collapsed in rapid succession, in which powerful ideologies have captured the hearts of millions, only to expire in infamy, in which 2 world wars wreaked havoc on civilized life as it was known at the beginning of the 20th century. In the wake of such horrendous disruptions, there have been unexampled advances in the realms of science, technology, and social organization, a veritable explosion of knowledge, and an even more remarkable burgeoning in the awakening and rise of masses of humanity which were previously presumed to be dormant. These masses are claiming their rightful places within the community of nations, which has greatly expanded. With the simultaneous development of communications at the speed of light and transportation at the speed of sound, the world has contracted into a mere neighborhood in which people are instantly aware of each other's affairs and have immediate access to each other. And yet, even with such miraculous advances, with the emergence of international organizations, and with valiant attempts and brilliant successes at international cooperation, nations are at woeful odds with one another. People are convulsed by economic upheavals. Races feel more alienated than before and are filled with mistrust, humiliation, and fear. Collateral with these changes has been the breakdown of institutions, religious and political, which traditionally functioned as the guideposts for the stability of society. Even the most resilient of these seem to be losing their credibility as they have become preoccupied with their own internal disorder. This calls attention to the emptiness of the moral landscape and the feeling of futility deranging personal life. Thoughtful commentators write apprehensively about the fall of culture and the consequent disappearance of values, the loss of the fullness of the inner life, a technological civilization facing an increasingly serious crisis. They write, moreover, of the human species as being at the end with its wisdom and being unable to control itself, of the need for divine wisdom and foresight, and of the human psyche as being far removed from recognizing this need. These ominous comments reflect the universal consequences of a failed understanding as to the purpose of God for humankind. It is in this particular respect that the revelation of Baha'u'llah sheds new light. It refreshes our thoughts. It clarifies and expands our conceptions. His teachings imbue us with the abundance of God's love for his creatures. They impress upon us the indispensability of justice in human relations and emphasize the importance of adhering to principle in all matters. They inform us that human beings have been created to carry forward an ever-advancing civilization, and that the virtues which befit the dignity of every person are forbearance, mercy, compassion, and loving kindness toward all the peoples and kindreds of the earth. As the members of our community have pursued their plan for teaching his faith, they have grown to appreciate more adequately the purpose of the multifarious processes of change which have been at work during the course of the century. Such simultaneous processes of rise and fall, of integration and of disintegration, of order and chaos, with their continuous and reciprocal reactions on each other, are, our teachings tell us, but aspects of a greater plan, one and indivisible, whose source is God, whose author is Bahaullah, the theater of whose operations is the entire planet, and whose ultimate objectives are the unity of the human race and the peace of all mankind. Disunity is the crux of the problems which so severely afflict the planet. It permeates attitudes in all departments of life. It is at the heart of all major conflicts between nations and peoples. More serious still, disunity is common in the relations between religions and within religions, vitiating the very spiritual and moral influence which it is their primary purpose to exert. Should the lamp of religion be obscured, Baha'u'llah asserts, chaos and confusion will ensue, and the lights of fairness, of justice, of tranquility and peace cease to shine. In an elaboration of these dreadful consequences, our teachings state that when, as a result of human perversity, the light of religion is quenched in men's hearts, a deplorable decline in the fortunes of humanity immediately sets in, bringing in its wake all the evils which a wayward soul is capable of revealing. The perversion of human nature, the degradation of human conduct, the corruption and dissolution of human institutions reveal themselves under such circumstances in their worst and most revolting aspects. Human character is debased, confidence is shaken, the nerves of discipline are relaxed, the voice of human conscience is stilled, the sense of decency and shame is obscured, conceptions of duty, of solidarity, of reciprocity and loyalty are distorted, and the very feeling of peacefulness, of joy and of hope is gradually extinguished. Such, unfortunately, is the state to which institutions and individuals have come in our time. Against this background, the requirements of the covenant assume even more critical importance than before. There can be no doubt that if our community is to cope with the situation, it must rapidly advance towards the next phase in its evolution. It will be a phase in which the faith of Baha'u'llah must of necessity anticipate a deep encounter with the forces operating with such bewildering ferocity throughout the world. Let us, therefore, take this propitious occasion to review the covenantal arrangement which generates and sustains our actions. The foundation of our belief rests on our recognition of the sovereignty of God, the unknowable essence, the supreme creator, and on our submission to his will as revealed for this age by Baha'u'llah. To accept the messenger of God in his day and to abide by his bidding are the two essential, inseparable duties which each soul was created to fulfill. One exercises these twin duties by one's own choice, and by so doing performs an act which may be regarded as the highest expression of free will with which every human being is endowed by an all-loving creator. The vehicle in this resplendent age for the practical fulfillment of these duties is the covenant of Bahaullah. It is the instrument by which belief in him is translated into constructive deeds. The oneness of humankind is the pivotal principle and ultimate goal of his mission. This principle means far more than the reawakening of the spirit of brotherhood and goodwill among peoples. It implies an organic change in the structure of present-day society, a change such as the world has not yet experienced. The covenant of Baha'u'llah embodies the spirit, instrumentality, and method to attain this essential goal. In addition to laying down in his book of laws the fundamentals for a new world order, Baha'u'llah, in the book of his covenant, confirmed the appointment of his son, Abdul-Baha, as the interpreter of his word and the center of his covenant. As the interpreter, Abdul-Baha became the living mouth of the book, the expounder of the word. As the center of the covenant, he became the incorruptible medium for applying the word to practical measures for the raising up of a new civilization. The covenant is, therefore, unique as a divine phenomenon, in that Baha'u'llah, further to conferring upon Abdul-Baha the necessary authority to fulfill the requirements of his singular office, vested in him the virtues of perfection in personal and social behavior, that humanity may have an enduring model to emulate. In no annals of the past is there recorded such an arrangement for ensuring the realization of the purpose of the manifestation of God. This covenant is the guarantee against schism. That is why those who occasionally attempt to create a cleavage in the community utterly fail in the long run. Similarly, the incessant persecution the community has been forced to endure for more than a century in the land of Baha'u'llah's birth has not succeeded in destroying its identity or undermining its organic unity. The glorious ultimate effect of this arrangement will be to ensure the establishment of the kingdom of God on earth, as promised in the holy books of old and as proclaimed by Baha'u'llah himself. The day of the promise is come, he clearly announces, and he who is the promised one loudly proclaimeth before all who are in heaven and all who are on earth, verily there is none other God but he, the help in peril, the self-subsisting. I swear by God, that which had been enshrined from eternity in the knowledge of God, the knower of the seen and unseen, is revealed. Happy is the eye that seeth, and the face that turneth towards the countenance of God, the Lord of all being. Indeed, the coming of Baha'u'llah ushered the world into a new age, making possible the beginning of a wholly new relationship between humanity and its supreme creator. The characteristics of this relationship are summed up in the covenant inaugurated upon his passing a century ago. Its spiritual dynamic and cohesive power, its unifying principles and practical institutional provisions are a pattern for the healing of the ills afflicting our fractured societies and defective social systems. The covenant of Baha'u'llah gives new meaning to humanity's checkered history. It imparts a fresh impulse to human striving. Like unto the artery, Abdul-Baha states, it beats and pulsates in the body of the world. The pervasive influence it exerts is at the heart of the derangement of human affairs. It drives the accelerating transition from the old order to the new world order envisaged by Baha'u'llah. Soon, he writes, will the present-day order be rolled up and a new one spread out in its stead. And he explains, the world's equilibrium hath been upset through the vibrating influence of this most great this new world order. Mankind's ordered life hath been revolutionized through the agency of this unique, this wondrous system, the like of which mortal eyes have never witnessed. Let those seriously concerned about the state and fate of the world give due attention to the claims of Bahaullah. Let them realize that the storms battering at the foundations of society will not be stilled unless and until spiritual principles are actively engaged in the search for solutions to social problems. Let us, the followers of Bahaullah, redouble our effort in the exercise of our sacred duty to acquaint all humanity with the animating purpose of the worldwide law of Bahaullah. Let them discover that, far from aiming at the subversion of the existing foundations of society, it seeks to broaden its basis, to remold its institutions in a manner consonant with the needs of an ever-changing world. Let us, with patience and humility, respond to challenging or skeptical questions while unfolding the purposes of the law. Let them know that it can conflict with no legitimate allegiances, nor can it undermine essential loyalties. Its purpose is neither to stifle the flame of a sane and intelligent patriotism in men's hearts, nor to abolish the system of national autonomy, so essential if the evils of excessive centralization are to be avoided. Let us, by word and example, show that it does not ignore, nor does it attempt to suppress, the diversity of ethnical origins, of climate, of history, of language and tradition, of thought and habit that differentiate the peoples and nations of the world. Finally, let them appreciate that it calls for a wider loyalty, for a larger aspiration than any that has animated the human race, that it insists upon the subordination of national impulses and interests to the imperative claims of a unified world, that it repudiates excessive centralization on the one hand and disclaims all attempts at uniformity on the other, that its watchword is unity in diversity. Its watchword is unity in diversity. It is especially noteworthy that, coincidental with this Baha'i Holy Year, are the commemorations of other world-shaking occurrences which, centuries ago, commenced processes destined to attain their glorious consummation in the promised day of God. The ultimate resolution of the profound issues to which they gave rise and which have ripened with the passage of time is discernible in the eventual realization of the world-embracing system of Baha'u'llah. Our thoughts turn to the history of Abdu'l-Baha's epic journey to the West, and particularly to North America, where in New York he disclosed to his Western disciples the implications of the covenant of Baha'u'llah. It was, in a sense, an act of renewal, prospective of the consolidation of the union of the old and new worlds into one global entity. Surnamed by him City of the Covenant, New York resonates with the effects of that experience of 80 years ago. Then it was still the major entryway to the land of promise for millions of people seeking new horizons. Now it is recognized as a gathering place for the leaders of nations, an international venue for efforts at achieving unity in the political realm. Its very atmosphere vibrates with the hopes of a world seeking to set its affairs in order. Today, the hearts of the Baha'is throughout the earth are focused on this City of the Covenant, wherein many thousands of their fellow believers from all parts of the planet have assembled in the Second Baha'i World Congress. The presence there of such a widely varied representation of the human race is an affirmation of the unific power of the covenant, which the event was convened to celebrate. In this season of beginnings and of the commemorations of beginnings, we Baha'is set for ourselves a new measure of effort, one more daring and persistent than before. May our words proclaim and our deeds demonstrate that there is only one God, only one religion, only one race. And few though we be, may we thus fulfill our duty towards Bahaullah, towards his covenant, and indeed towards all humankind.
Friends, after this momentous and wonderful statement of our beloved Universal House of Justice, I think that our hearts are very full. And I think that one of the things that the Baha'is should do when they go back to their own countries is to see that this message of the House of Justice appears in their own newsletters and in their own language as quickly as possible, because it has a very momentous message to give the Baha'is, and it will guide assemblies and national assemblies, believers, on how to focus their attention, our attention, on the possible future events awaiting mankind. So I think that you should take full advantage quickly of this very important message from the Universal House of Justice. I would like to thank, on behalf of all of us here, and we're a very, very representative group of people, and a very large group of people, and I might say a very united group of people. But I, on your behalf and on my own behalf, would like to thank Mayor Dinkins of New York City for his warm reception. It's nice to come to a place where you're received with open arms. And I think that all the Baha'is are very, very appreciative that in this city of the covenant, which is so pivotal to everything that is happening at the present time all over the Baha'i world, that the mayor of this great city should greet us with genuine appreciation and affection. Fundamentally, this is a religion of happiness. If you think of Baha'u'llah's words to Professor Brown, the only Westerner who ever had the honor of being received by him, it's very, very impressive. And I think that this is another thing, another thought that we should carry out and tell other people. Say that in his only interview with a Westerner, a prominent scholar from England, the founder of the Baha'i faith, who was a prisoner and an exile, said, I desire but the good of the world and the happiness of the nations. And I think that this is a very, very important and singularly neglected statement of Baha'u'llah. Because what does he say? He says, I desire the happiness of the nations. Doesn't say their prosperity, their welfare, their fame, that they should behave themselves, anything else. All he says is, I desire the happiness of the nations. And I think that we should carry out, as Baha'is, more of that sense of joy, of assurance, of happiness. All right, the immediate future is very dark, but we see the distant future, and it's very, very bright. And people have a right to hear from the Baha'is that we think that the most glorious future is before all mankind, that we believe in the life after death. We believe in the immortality of the soul, because many, many people may be faced in the near future with all kinds of, let's say, complicated deaths. Then we should tell them that we believe that the soul exists forever, that it is created by Almighty God, that it has its own personality and its own future, and we are convinced of it, and we're happy about it, and we're not afraid, and we pray for the dead, we love our loved ones that have passed away, and we have no fear either of death or of the future. We only have love and happiness and courage and a great, great future that the Baha'is believe in for the entire people of the world.
Bless thou, O King of Kings, the city of New York. Cause the friends there to be kind to one another. Purify their souls and make their hearts to be free and detached. Illumine the world of their consciousness. Exhilarate their spirits and bestow celestial power and confirmation upon them. Establish there a heavenly realm, so that the city of Baha may prosper, and New York may be favored with blessings from the Abha kingdom. That this region may become like the all-highest paradise, may develop into a vineyard of God, and be transformed into a heavenly orchard and a spiritual rose garden.
beloved friends, this concludes our program.